Here is the problem with most advice about avoidant attachment. It tells you to do more. Be warmer. Be more present. Reach in more. Give more comfort. Show more emotion. And that advice is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Because if you have an avoidantly attached child, you have probably already tried more, and you have noticed something that nobody warned you about. More does not always work. Sometimes, more makes it worse. Your child stiffens when you move in, pulls away when you try to hold them, changes the subject when you try to talk about feelings, shuts down harder the more you push the door open. And you are left standing there wondering if you are doing something wrong, because everything you have read says warmth and presence should be helping, and you are bringing warmth and presence, and the wall is still there. Today, I want to explain why that happens. And then I want to give you something more useful than just be warmer. I want to give you the actual sequence, the specific order of moves, calibrated to your child's age, that the research shows is most likely to reach a child who has learned that emotional closeness is a place to stay away from. 3 movements, every age, starting with the one most parents skip entirely. The avoidantly attached child has a wall. You know this. You have felt it. But here is what most parents do not know about that wall. It was not built against you. It was built for survival. Research from the Attachment and Biobehavioral Catch-Up program, a clinical intervention developed at the University of Delaware by Dr. Mary Dozier and tested across multiple randomized controlled trials, identifies the central challenge of working with avoidant children this way. The child behaves in ways that push the caregiver away. And the caregiver, being human, tends to respond in kind, to pull back, to give space, to respect what looks like a preference for distance. But giving space is precisely what the child's defensive system was designed to produce. The wall is not a preference, it is a test. And when the caregiver responds to the test by pulling back, the child's internal working model, the nervous system's deepest prediction about what reaching toward others produces, gets confirmed one more time. See? I was right to stop reaching. Closeness leads nowhere. The work of helping an avoidantly attached child is the work of interrupting that confirmation, not by forcing closeness that backfires, as you have probably discovered, but by refusing to be pushed away, by showing up in ways that do not trigger the wall's defense mechanisms, by being present in a register the child's nervous system can actually receive. 3 movements. In order, here is what they are. Movement 1. Follow before you lead. This is the move most parents skip, and it is the most important one at every age. The Attachment and Biobehavioral Catch-Up intervention, which has demonstrated in randomized controlled trials the ability to shift children from avoidant to secure attachment, identifies following the child's lead as the foundational behavior the program is built on. Following the lead interactions are experienced as smooth and controllable by the child, which enhances attention and regulation. Smooth and controllable. Those are the words. And they tell you everything about why forcing emotional connection with an avoidantly attached child does not work. An avoidant child's nervous system has learned to associate emotional contact with something that feels out of their control, a demand they cannot meet, a discomfort they cannot escape. The wall goes up the moment they sense that kind of approach coming. But an interaction that is smooth and controllable, where the child is setting the direction and the parent is following with genuine interest, does not trigger the wall, because there is nothing to defend against. The child is in charge of the territory, and a child who is in charge of the territory can afford to relax. What this looks like in infancy. Your baby is looking at something. Stop what you are doing and look at it with them. Not at them, with them. Whatever has their attention, the ceiling fan, a toy, a shadow on the wall, bring your attention there. Narrate what you see. Match their focus before you try to redirect it toward you. You are not the center of the interaction. Their interest is, you are joining it. What this looks like at toddler age. Your toddler is building something, sorting something, moving cars along the floor. Sit beside them, not across from them, beside them. Join the play without directing it. Resist every instinct to suggest, redirect, or improve. Follow. If they move a car left, notice it. If they knock the tower over, react with them. Your only job in this moment is to be a warm, delighted participant in whatever they are already doing. What this looks like in preschool. Your preschooler is in their own world, a game, a construction, a story they are telling themselves. Ask if you can watch. Not participate yet. Watch. Let them notice you watching. Let your face show genuine interest in what they have created. Wait for the invitation to join. And when it comes, and it will come, slowly, if you are patient and consistent, follow their lead into the play. Do not steer it. What this looks like at school age. Your child has interests. Specific ones, a game, a subject, a show, a sport. Your job at this age is to become genuinely interested in those things. Not performatively, genuinely. Ask questions that show you have been paying attention. Sit beside them while they play the game, not to supervise, but because you are actually curious what happens next. An avoidant school-aged child will open up sideways, not in direct emotional conversation, but in the space beside a shared activity where the pressure of face-to-face connection is absent. Movement 1 is not a warm-up. It is the foundation on which everything else gets built. A child who has experienced you as a safe, non-intrusive, genuinely interested presence in their world, one who follows rather than leads, who joins rather than demands, has begun, very quietly, to update the internal working model. This person comes near, and nothing bad happens. And sometimes it is actually good. That update is small, but it is the first crack in the wall, and you need it before you can do anything else. Movement 2. Offer warmth before it is invited. This is the move that the research names most specifically as the intervention for avoidant attachment and the one that is most counterintuitive for parents to execute. The ABC intervention describes it precisely, reinterpreting children's behavioral signals and providing nurturance even when it is not elicited. That phrase is the whole thing. Because the avoidantly attached child does not elicit nurturance. That is the defining feature of the style. They have learned that eliciting comfort produces discomfort in them and in the caregiver, and so they stopped asking for it. They manage alone. They appear fine. They do not reach. And caregivers, responding reasonably to the absence of a signal, do not offer what has not been asked for. They respect the apparent preference for independence. They do not push, but the child who does not elicit comfort still needs it. The Spangler and Grossman physiological research we referenced in our spotting video showed this clearly. The internal stress response in avoidant children is identical to that of securely attached children. The cortisol rises. The heart rate elevates. The distress is fully present. The signal has simply been switched off at the output, which means the nurturance needs to arrive without the signal. You need to offer it before it is asked for. What this looks like in infancy. When your baby is calm and content, not distressed, not reaching for you, just existing, move toward them with warmth, hold them, make eye contact and smile, talk to them. The avoidant pattern forms when warmth is absent in the calm moments and missing in the distress moments. You are interrupting the pattern at the calm end, introducing warmth into moments. The baby's nervous system has not yet learned to associate with emotional contact. What this looks like at toddler age. Your toddler falls. Pause. Watch what they do next. If they get up and do not come to you, go to them. Not urgently. Calmly, warmly, without fuss. That looked like a bump. I'm coming to check. You are closing the distance before the child has made the decision not to seek comfort. You are intercepting the suppression before it completes. What this looks like in preschool. Watch for the small hard moments in your preschooler's day. The frustration with a task, the disappointment of a plan that did not work out, the quietness that follows a conflict. These are the moments the avoidant child retreats inward to manage alone. These are exactly the moments to show up with warmth, not to fix, not to interrogate, but simply to be near. I noticed that seemed hard. I'm right here. And then actually be there. Seated, close, unhurried. Not waiting for them to open up, not asking questions. Just making your presence available in a way that does not demand anything in return. What this looks like at school age. The school-age avoidant child has become expert at appearing fine. They will come home from a day that included something hard and say nothing. And the parent, receiving the nothing, moves on. The intervention here is the gentle, consistent refusal to move on quite so quickly. Not interrogation, not pushing, a pause, a specific observation. You seemed quieter than usual after school. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just here if something's on your mind. And then dropping it, not following up, not checking in again an hour later. The offer was made, the child registered it. And you have just demonstrated something their nervous system has been waiting, without knowing it was waiting, to see. You noticed me even when I sent no signal. You came without being called. That demonstration, repeated over months, rewrites the internal working model more powerfully than any number of direct conversations about feelings ever could. Movement 3. Stay through the resistance. This is the hardest movement, and the one that determines whether the first two stick. Because here is what happens when you consistently follow your avoidant child's lead and consistently offer warmth before it is invited. At some point, the wall begins to crack. Some small piece of emotional content comes through, a brief vulnerability, a moment of genuine need, and it is uncomfortable for both of you. The child's nervous system, which learned long ago that showing need leads to disappointment floods with something unfamiliar. They may get angry. They may suddenly shut down. They may do the thing that confuses parents most. They may pull away hardest precisely when connection feels closest. The approach and retreat that is so characteristic of avoidant attachment appears right at the threshold of breakthrough. And the parent, reading the retreat as rejection, often pulls back too. This is the moment that matters most. And the research is clear about what it requires. Staying calm and labeling the child's emotion. Avoiding power struggles and lecturing. Remaining close and providing nurturance. Resuming following the child's lead with delight when the child is calm. Not matching the retreat with a retreat. Not taking the pushback personally. Not withdrawing the warmth because it met resistance. At every age, staying through the resistance looks like the same thing in different forms. In infancy, when the baby arches back in your arms, hold them gently and stay, not tighter steadily. Keep your voice soft. Let the resistance move through without triggering your own withdrawal. In toddlerhood, when the child who briefly let you in suddenly pushes you away literally, physically stay nearby. Not intrusively. Close. Calm. Calmly labeling what you see without judgment. You needed a bit of space. I'm right here. And meaning it. In preschool, when the conversation that almost happened suddenly closes when the child changes the subject, gets silly, leaves the room follow with lightness, not with urgency, a small joke, a return to the shared activity from movement 1. You are not pursuing the emotional content. You are maintaining the connection beneath it, and leaving the door open. In school age, when the teenager who let one real thing through becomes suddenly cold, mocking, or dismissive, do not match coldness with coldness or urgency with defensiveness. Stay warm. Stay interested. Let the resistance be what it is, a nervous system that got spooked by its own vulnerability without taking it as the final word. The research describes this as overriding the tendency to respond in kind. The child pushes away. The parent's instinct, often trained by years of the child's apparent preference for distance, is to give space. Staying through the resistance means overriding that instinct. Not by forcing contact, but by maintaining the warmth that was present before the resistance arrived. You are not chasing the child, you are simply refusing to disappear. And refusing to disappear consistently, over time, in the face of repeated tests, is the most powerful message the avoidant child's nervous system can receive. I pushed, and you stayed. The wall worked on everyone else. It is not working on you. That discovery, made slowly across hundreds of small interactions at every age, is how avoidant attachment heals. The thing. All 3 movements share. Follow before you lead. Offer warmth before it is invited. Stay through the resistance. 3 different moves. 1 underlying principle. You are building interaction by interaction. A body of evidence that contradicts the internal working model the child has been running since infancy. That model says, reaching toward others leads to dismissal. Emotional closeness is unsafe. The wall is necessary. You are not arguing with that model. You are not trying to convince your child it is wrong. You are simply giving their nervous system new data slowly, patiently, In a register it can receive without triggering its defenses that points in a different direction. This person follows me. This person shows up before I ask. This person stays when I push back. Each of those data points is a small update, and small updates accumulate. The internal working model does not change all at once. It changes the way all deep things change gradually, almost invisibly, until the day you realize the wall is lower than it was. The research on the Attachment and Biobehavioral Catch-Up intervention, the most rigorously tested program for improving avoidant attachment, is a 10-session program. 10 weeks of consistent, coached, deliberate practice of these 3 movements. That is not a long time, but it requires that the 3 movements happen consistently, not only in the big moments or the moments when you remember, but as the default texture of daily interaction. Which means the work is not dramatic. It is not a single breakthrough conversation. It is the accumulated weight of thousands of ordinary interactions where you followed instead of led, offered warmth before it was invited, and stayed when the push came. And researchers who study avoidant attachment are clear on one point that every parent doing this work needs to hear. The internal working model is not fixed. It is a prediction, and predictions update when the evidence changes. Your consistency is the evidence. And it is already changing things even when you cannot yet see it. The avoidantly attached child is not a child who does not need you. They are a child who has concluded from evidence gathered before they had any other option that needing you is a risk they cannot afford. Your job is not to force them to need you. Your job is to make the risk smaller, one interaction at a time, to follow before you lead, to offer warmth before it is asked for, to stay when every signal says go. That is the work. It is quiet work. It is patient work. And it is the work that reaches the child behind the wall, not by tearing the wall down, but by making the world outside it safe enough that, eventually, the child decides to open the door themselves. If this video gave you a clearer picture of what to actually do, not just what to feel, share it with a parent who is standing in front of the same wall. Leave a comment telling me which of the 3 movements surprised you most. Until next time, follow first. Show up unsummoned, and stay. The child who has stopped reaching is still waiting to be found. Find them.